Good evening, Year 9 parents and students. Welcome to this year's Year 9 options evening. Obviously, it's all virtual, a bit different to what we were expecting to do, but I'm really glad you've been able to join us. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Mr. Ali. I lead Key Stage 3 at Harris Academy, Greenwich. We've got a few people talking tonight, and hopefully we'll be able to provide some clarity around how options this year are going to work for you. A very, very important time and some really big decisions for you to be making. So I'm going to now actually just quickly hand you over to Ms. McMillan. Ms. McMillan is going to talk to you about what Key Stage 4 looks like when you get there. Okay, Year 10, Year 11. Miss McMillan obviously leads on Key Stage 4, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what that's like. So, Miss McMillan, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Nice to have you with us today, and happy to talk to you about your Key Stage 4 journey. And that will start in September of 2021 and will end in the summer of 2023. And from my experience in teaching for the last decade or so, I see the biggest jump in students from the end of Key Stage 3 into Key Stage 4. It's when I notice students really, their maturity really increasing. They obviously come to us much taller than they were before, but there's a real settling that happens as they leave Key Stage 3 and move into Key Stage 4. And I really think that's because they recognize the importance of the next 2 years of working towards those exams at the end of GCSE, which then fulfill your dreams and your possibilities moving on past then. And I have no doubt that you will do the same, Year 9s. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about the expectations, our vision, our values, what is it going to look like over the next couple of years as you move into Year 10. So we're going to start with the values, and they're no different than the values that we already have in the school. We want our students to be kind, we want them to work hard, and we want them to take responsibility. And I would say as you move into Key Stage 4, the values of working hard and taking responsibility really get dialed up. And when we think about the expectations that we have of you in Key Stage 4, I've summarized it in 3 words. So one of the words is engagement. You are now about to make choices in the options that you're going to take. You are choosing what you want to put your time and effort into. There's a recognition that you are now working towards those big exams, as I said, that are going to help you open doors to your careers and your next step in life. So there's a responsibility that you have to be engaged, that you are turning up and showing up in your lessons, that you're asking questions, that you're getting your homework done, that you're revising without people asking you to. There's an independence there, a maturity, like I said before. There's also a big expectation on revision, which isn't necessarily a big emphasis in Key Stage 3. And we teach you how to revise. We give you time in Year 11 where we really dedicate time after school for you to revise, because we know it's a really important part of you being successful, not just for the next 2 years, but again, past Year 11 when you're going to be going to sixth form or universities. And then the last expectation is working hard and playing hard. So working hard is one of our values that we've already said. We want you working hard from the moment you step through that door right until when you leave. We want the best from you when you're in front of us at school. But we also recognize that it's important that you have a holistic picture, that you do take breaks, that you know how to have good habits when it comes to your mental well-being. So we also build that into our plan in Key Stage 4. The vision we have for our Key Stage 4 students is the following. We want to prepare our Key Stage 4 students to achieve outstanding results in their GCSEs and prepare them for the next stage of their education and future careers. You probably came to our school because we are very good at getting good results. You know, that is something we are very proud of, and we take a lot of pride in that. But we know that that's not all we do. It's really important that we help you move forward, that we help you unpack what makes you you. What are your gifts? What are your talents? What do you want to do in this big wide world? So it's twofold. Yes, we're going to get you great results and help you get there, but we're also going to help inform you to the next stage in your education. So let's talk a bit about that first thing I said about revision, the big part of Key Stage 4 that's different than Key Stage 3. So we are going to teach you how to revise. One thing we recognize is one reason we get really good results is because we know that students have interference when it comes to revision, and we want to make sure they're doing the right things. So we invest time early in Year 10 to make sure you are revising effectively. So usually this will happen partway through year 10, we'll start teaching on how to revise effectively. And then when we get into year 11, we dedicate 2 days after school where you'll sit and revise specific subjects using a timetable, using the strategies we've given you to build that into your routines. And here are a couple pictures of our current year 11s back in September when they were doing their revision training. And when we give you this training, we make it specific. We do have a broad way that we want you to revise, but we also recognize that subjects have a particular way that is a successful way to revise. So you'll have a math session because there's specific ways we want you to revise for maths, an English one as well. We'll talk about specific ways to help you with subjects like humanity that has a really big chunky knowledge that you need to be getting into that long-term memory. And then also teaching you how to revise different types of resources. So how to use a flashcard in a really good way. So you leave this training having a real wide breadth of skills so that you can take all of that into your 10, into your 11, and then continue using those skills beyond Key Stage 4. And here's some examples of pieces of revision from our current year 11s. And what you're seeing here, without going into too much depth, is the general way that we teach you how to revise. So we have a mental warm-up for a very short period of time. You start thinking about the subject, doing a mind map, thinking of all the things you can recall from that subject. You then spend the majority of the time drilling knowledge, a bit of like the flip and fetch, looking at a piece of a paragraph, seeing how much you can remember, checking it, or might be doing a bunch of questions in maths. You might be looking at a flashcard and doing a row of questions. And then we check, and that's where you see the red pen markings there on the work, annotating what you're getting right, annotating what you're getting wrong, and then repeating that process. And the last part in this system is then testing and quizzing, which we do at a later date to see how much of that has retained into your long-term memory. And here's a couple examples of students writing their own quizzes. So that's one thing we teach you, how to write your own quiz, how to do a proper testing. And all of this makes for a really successful student when it comes to retaining information long-term, because you're going to need to remember this information for 2 years. And then when you get to A level, if you choose to do that, it'll be another 2 years you're going to have to hold on to that information. So we really want to prepare you to be the best student possible, to not only get the best results now, but also in the future. We're going to give you a revision folder, so that will allow you to keep all of this hard work that you're doing in one place. We'll give you dividers and some plastic wallets as well. And there's a couple reasons for this. We want you to be able to keep those resources safe so you can access them in the future, but we also want them so we can check them. So you'll have a year 10 tutor who will do some folder checks with you to give you feedback to check the quality. But in year 11, we also have a couple folder checks where SLT is involved and our middle leaders are involved to give you some even more rigorous feedback to make sure you're doing the right things so that what you're actually learning is sticking and you're not doing the wrong things or not missing the bar at some point. So we make sure we keep that folder safe, and you'll often have, as you see in that picture, more than one folder by the end of Key Stage 4. Along with teaching you how to revise, we also recognize that you need time learning how to be good at time management. And it's one thing I would say teenagers struggle with, is how to manage their time effectively, being aware of procrastination, for instance. So we're going to spend time teaching you how to make a proper revision timetable. And we'll probably do this a little bit in year 10, but even more so in year 11. And I'll show you an example here. So we will show you and explain to you how to make sure you have quality throughout your subjects. So make sure you're not just focusing on certain ones and avoiding others, making sure you're thinking about when are you going to take breaks? Are you being realistic with the amount of revision that you're putting down? What's your weekends going to look like? And giving you feedback. So this is an example of a student's, and here's another one. And by no means are these perfect. So the first time we do them, we take them back in, we give you some feedback, we get you to redraft, and then we look at them one more time, and then we will laminate them and make sure they're kept in your folders so that you can use them from then on. Now, with all of this said, I've told you that exams are a big part of what we do, but we know it's not the only thing. And one of the reasons we spend time teaching you how to revise is we want to avoid you feeling this way, being anxious, being panicked, being stressed, because if students don't have the right habits with revision and they don't do the right things from the beginning of Key Stage 4, this is how they will feel. So we want to avoid that, and that's why we spend time teaching you how to revise early on. But we also know year 10 and year 11, you know, it's a big jump from Key Stage 3, and it is daunting, and it does feel different, and there are exams at the end that can be scary. And it just feels a lot more different. You're a lot more independent. There's a lot more expected of you. And so we know that you could feel this way. And we recognize that we need to support you in that. So we need to get that balance right. We recognize academics is important, but there's also other things in your life that are just as important, like sleep, like exercise, like eating properly, like having time with your friends and having other hobbies. That is really what makes you holistically a healthy person. So we have a saying that I shared already about working hard and playing hard. We want you working hard when you're inside school, from the time you walk in to the time you leave, but we also recognize you need to have those breaks and have those other things in your life that bring you balance. And one way that we teach you to have that balance is through Homeroom. Homeroom is something that we introduced this year, and for you it will be probably 2 morning slots, yet to be determined. But this is a time where you'll get to know a Year 10 tutor who will be with you for the entire year. Hopefully they'll follow you through into Year 11, and really they're your advocate. They're your cheerleader. They're the person in the school that's going to know you really, really well. They're going to be there to support you, to help you through these next couple of years, but they're also going to be there to challenge you and make sure that you're doing the right things. And we'll cover a variety of topics in Homeroom, one of which will be mainly focusing on you being a successful student. So that might be embedding those revision techniques that you've been learning and giving you time to practice that even more. It will be helping you to find your confidence and finding out more about what makes you tick and who you are, which will then lead nicely into thinking about the next steps in your career. What do you want to do after Year 11? Giving you time to research those ideas, getting to realize all the different careers that are out there and the different pathways that you can go. But we also know that, as I said before, it can be a really difficult couple of years, and there's going to be peaks and troughs where you're feeling great and times where you might be feeling really stressed. So we want to talk about anxiety. We want to talk about stress. We want to talk about how do we manage those things? What are the strategies? We don't want you getting to that point. We want to help you avoid getting to those places. So we do talk about the things that cause these things to happen, like procrastination. We want to name these things and make it something that we discuss so that we can help you build the right habits into your life so that you don't end up feeling like this long term. And when talking about habits, especially with COVID and everything we've been experiencing, we want to make sure you have the right habits at home. Because although we need you to have a break during your breaks, your Easter breaks, your half terms, we also want to make sure that you are revising in those times and that you have an environment that allows you to revise successfully. So we talk about how we do that at home. How can we design our environment to help you do that well? And then the other thing is, what about the other parts of yourself? So we talk about healthy exercise and routines, eating healthy, having time away from screens and other hobbies that you can do. And we also want you to practice mindfulness, and that's something we build into our homeroom, learning how to be quiet, how to be still. And that's a really good strategy to learn when you are feeling anxious or when you're feeling stressed, and something that's useful for your entire life, really. So it's through Homeroom that we provide a holistic approach to you as a person, not just academically, but also you spiritually, you mentally, and you physically as well. But we can't escape the fact that Key Stage 4 is about exams, and at the end of the 2 years, you are going to have exams on the subjects you're studying. So we have mock exams that will be happening over those 2 years. And really, it's one of the reasons we teach you to revise, because that's an incentive, the fact that you are going to be tested. It's an opportunity for you to show off all the progress you've made, show your teachers what you know, find out what you don't know, which is also very important, which allows to inform your revision, really streamline your revision so you know what to work on moving forward. But really, taking an exam is a skill. And it is scary and it is daunting. There's a lot of rules out there that you don't want to get wrong. God forbid, if you did, you could get a 0 on your exam. There's a lot of moving parts, warm-ups and lining up on the bottom playground and managing yourself in that 2 hours of that English exam. It's a skill and we recognize you need to practice it. And that's one of the reasons we do them. So the first opportunity you'll have to do your mock exams will be at the end of Year 10 in the summer term. So just a little bit more than a year from now. And that will be the chance for you to show your teachers what you've learned over that time. And it's also a great opportunity for us to see what tiers you should take for maths, for instance, whether it should be higher foundation or whether it should be higher foundation for science, for instance. And it also helps us to set you into Year 11. So you're in front of the right teachers, doing the right spec, so that you then can really focus on the right exams that you need to do at the end of Year 11. And I just want to show you an example of a timetable that Year 11's had this past November, just so you can see, and it puts students through their paces. It is meant to be not so stressful, but it's meant to definitely push you, and it's an experience in and of itself. And the more and more you do it, the more prepared you are, the better you do. And it's the progress that we also see from that first mock exam to the second one to the third one. And some days, you know, you'll have 2 papers, some days you'll only have 1. And it's all about learning how to manage your time. How do you revise in between, making sure you're still sleeping and you're eating, so that when you get those results, you're really proud of them and you're able to take them on and move forward to the next one. And last but certainly not least in our Key Stage 4 journey is that next step, helping you make those decisions beyond post-16. And it's our job to help make sure that you're fully informed, and we do that in a few ways. So one of the ways is through Homeroom. As I said, we'll provide students with time to research sixth forms, universities, colleges, apprenticeships, and all other post-16 options. So you get a real thorough looking into what you could do moving on after year 11. You'll also have individual careers meetings with our sixth form team, but also with our Federation Careers Advisors, and there'll be several meetings you'll have over those 2 years. You'll have work experience in year 10, and you'll also have sessions in Homeroom with CV writing, interview skills, and employability. And so through all of this, by the time you get to the end of year 11, you should have real clarity on what you want to do next, how you're going to get there, and hopefully really inspire you into the career you're wanting to move forward in. So just to summarize, I think the Key Stage 4 journey can be thought of in 3 ways. So one, we're teaching you how to revise effectively. That can last over the 2 years that you're in GCSEs, but then obviously moving into sixth form or college or university. We want to make sure we're balancing your well-being, thinking carefully on you holistically, your mental well-being, your spiritual well-being, your physical well-being, as well as the academics, and making sure you have those right habits in your life. And then also helping inform you to post-16 and your career options so that you have a clear journey on what comes next, so you can fulfill whatever dreams that you have for yourself. And just to bring it right back to our vision, we want to prepare our Key Stage 4 students to achieve outstanding results in their GCSEs and prepare them for the next stage of their education and future careers. And I have no doubt that year 9 are going to step up to the challenge, are going to really get on with it and be really successful over the next couple of years by the summer of 2023. And I look forward to being a part of that. So Sarah, I'll pass it back over to you.
Thanks very much, Miss. Let me see if I can get this tech sorted. Let me try that. Bear with me. I think I can see myself. Now I just need to Miss, can you see that?
I can, just need to put presentation mode.
There we are. Fantastic. Okay, so thanks for that, Miss. Obviously, guys, Miss has just given you a bit of an overview of what to expect when you move over to year 10. I hand you over, I pass you over to Miss's capable hands. And before I start, can I just say that there's obviously a lot of information that Miss has just shared with you. I'll also be sharing a huge amount of information now. This whole presentation this evening will be available as a pre-record, so you can either click back on the link that you were sent to watch this back from the start. I'll also be saving it on the school website and sending out a link to that, so should you need to access it at any other point, just to remind yourselves of what we've been discussing, it definitely will be available for you. Okay, so to begin with, I've shared this illustration, a bit cheesy, the world is your oyster, but I actually mean it. I really mean it. I'm not going to dwell on the difficult time that we've had in the last 12 months or so, right? As families, friends, community and school, it's been tough. However, you guys are in a very fortunate position in that you've still got the whole of the GCSE period, the 2 years ahead of you. Okay, the world is your oyster. There's a real opportunity for you guys to do something fantastic, do something really good in your time left at Harris Academy Greenwich. We want to make sure that you are in the best possible position to be making those choices. Okay, this is a little extract from one of my favourite books that I read my kids, and it's Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Some of you might be familiar with it, some of you might not. And it opens with, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself in any direction you choose, right? Again, cheesy, but, you know, really, really meaningful in that you do not realize at the moment, because I didn't when I was your age, you don't realize at the moment all the different opportunities that are open to you. Okay, and you need to really grab those opportunities with both hands, and we are going to make sure that we give you the best possible opportunity, best possible chance that we can for your life chances. Okay, it's a really exciting time, really exciting time for you. Okay, and that's because you need to start making some choices. Okay, I'm sure you've already started having these conversations with your parents, and parents, I'm sure, you know, you've got some strong opinions on what the kids should be doing, right? What they should be choosing. But ultimately, you know, Year 9 students, you need to make the choice that's right for you. Okay, you'll be studying this for the next 2 years. And you need to make sure you're choosing subjects, A, that you enjoy, and B, that you think you might do reasonably well in. Okay, and your teachers are going to be able to guide you and advise you on that also moving forward. So the first thing that's really important for you to understand is that at this school we prioritise what's known as the English Baccalaureate. And the English Baccalaureate is a combination of subjects, many of which are compulsory, so you don't have much flexibility over, and then we have something called the open bucket, which you can choose from. Okay, so they're the subjects like art, DT, drama, and so on. Okay, but in total, what you're doing is you're choosing 8 subjects. Okay, 8 subjects, and those 8 subjects form what we call the English Baccalaureate. Okay, it's nationally recognised. You know, sixth forms and universities look upon it favourably, and that's why we insist on making that our key offer at our school. Okay, and just in case you weren't familiar with it, the core subjects are known as English language, English literature, maths and science. You then have a language, Spanish or French, and unfortunately you don't have a big choice over that, because if you've been studying Spanish since year 7, that's the language you would have to go with. You then get a choice between geography or history, and then 2 from the list on the right. Okay, and there we've got computer science, drama, religious studies, music, design and technology, media, PE, GCSE, CTEC sport, art, sociology, separate sciences are put there, and I'll explain a little bit about what separate sciences is in a moment. You may know that as triple science, food prep and nutrition, and a new addition this year is business studies. It wasn't in the original options booklet, but you'll have noticed that it's reappeared. Okay, so that's now another offer for us. While I'm here, I will explain a little bit about the science. Now, science is compulsory, but core science, also known as trilogy science, is our core offer. For those students that are exceptional in science, are likely and probably going to be encouraged to choose the separate sciences. The thing to bear in mind about the separate sciences, under the options, it takes away one of the options. Okay, so if you choose to do the separate sciences, it will limit the options available to you in that final block on the far right. So just to be clear, core English language, English literature, maths, science are compulsory. You have to choose the subject that you have been studying for the last 3 years for language, and for humanities, geography or history, and then you get 2 choices from the right. And with regards to triple science, that's going to be something that the head of science and your science teachers will either encourage you or discourage you from doing so. The thing to bear in mind is this: with the core science that's on offer, it doesn't limit you. The core science is still a fantastic double GCSE, and it doesn't limit you from choosing it at A level. Okay, there's a misconception that triple science is the be all and end all for engineers and scientists of the future. Well, actually, it's not necessarily that case, and your science teachers at Parents' Evening next week will provide you with a little bit more clarity with that. Computer science is another subject which is important for me to touch on. Computer science requires students to be very, very fluent and arguably exceptional in maths, Okay, and again, if you choose computer science and it's felt by the maths team and the computer science team that it's inappropriate, you will be told and would have to switch that option. So please be mindful, only choose computer science if you have a real strength in mathematics and a real passion for mathematics and computer science. The only other one on here that I think you need to be aware of is the separate sciences, which I already spoke about. Okay, there are some students where the languages might be an issue. Again, we will contact you if we feel that that's something that we need to look at. But otherwise, that's essentially going to be what you're going to be choosing from. Okay, so hopefully most of you have had an opportunity to find out a little bit more about the subjects. I'm not going to spend the whole evening this evening going through each subject. You can find that out yourself by going onto our school website, going to the menu, going to About Our Academy, then Year 9 Virtual GCSE Options 2021. And what you'll see there is a series of videos created by our heads of department, which gives you a lot of detail about each subject, the expectations of each subject and what you can expect, and you know, the course structure. At the bottom of that screen, right down at the bottom, you're going to find the Year 9 options booklet, which has been sent out to you already. But if you need to go back and because you've lost the link, you can go back and look at the options booklet, where it's got much more detail in writing about what to expect from those GCSEs. Okay, so that's all there on the school website. Go to menu, About Our Academy, Year 9 Virtual GCSE Options 2021. Okay, so how do you find out more about each subject, right? So obviously, I've touched on a few things today. You'll have the opportunity to go on the school website and access those videos and the options booklet. But we've also got Parents' Evening next week. Okay, so just to be clear, this evening is Options Evening, where we're just giving you an overview of how the options process is going to work. Next week is Parents' Evening. Okay, and that's where we're going to be opening up appointments with all the different subject teachers, and you can book those appointments and inquire a little bit more about each subject. Unfortunately, the windows are only 5-minute appointments, and the reason for that is we want to make sure we can, you know, as many parents as possible are able to access each teacher, and that's why we've started Parents' Evening a little bit earlier at 2:30. So assembly for you next week, kids, is actually cancelled. In its place is going to be Parents' Evening. Okay, now the Parents' Evening is going to be virtual, and I'll explain a little bit about that and how that's going to work today as well. So like I say, there's a lot of information coming your way, guys, today, but this will be pre-recorded so you can go back and have a look at it at a later date. The other thing to point out is I will be sharing the email addresses of the heads of department. They're already in the options booklet. Okay, so if you've got any specific questions about any subjects, the heads of department are expecting them, and they're more than happy to, you know, respond to any of your queries about their subjects. Okay, so all those email addresses are in the options booklet. So please do take some time to look through that. So if you've got any questions, please do fire them off to our heads of department if you've got any subject-specific questions. Okay, so you've got Parents' Evening next week, and obviously any queries you can send on to our heads of department. Okay, so Parents' Evening next week. You'll have been used to, for the last couple of years, coming into school, you know, queuing up for ages, especially in English, maths and science, to see our teachers. Sometimes you might have got bored queuing up and left, okay? But we're hoping that this new approach that we're taking is going to work for everyone, okay? Primarily because of COVID restrictions, we need to be mindful of the contact. So virtual Parents' Evenings will be taking place next Wednesday, and it's going to be done via the link there. You can see harrisgreenwich.schoolcloud.co.uk. And I know some of you might feel a little bit apprehensive about that. I promise you it's pretty straightforward and quite slick. Okay, and again, like I said, there'll be more details coming your way about that. But essentially what you do is you go to that website, you'd enter your name as a parent, kid's name, date of birth, and a couple of other details, and you click login, and it will take you straight into the evening, and then you can book appointments by subject, by teacher. Really, really straightforward. But the key thing is that you go onto that website and you're entering your details correctly. Now, there may be a few issues, okay, because sometimes there have been typos or email addresses and parental names or surnames have been entered incorrectly onto our system, Bromcom. If that's the case and there's a mismatch, there might be a few login issues. If you have those login issues, Mr. Tebbett, your pastoral manager, will be there on hand. Email him if you've got any issues and he'll check the details on Bromcom against what you've entered, and he'll tell you what we've got in our system, and you just enter those details onto that website and you'll be able to get in. But like I say, the appointments haven't opened yet. The appointments will open tomorrow, and you'll be able to book for Parents' Evening via this website tomorrow, and I'm going to send a link out tomorrow, so please don't worry. Okay, don't be apprehensive about that. I will send you the details for Parents' Evening tomorrow morning, ready to go. So remember, you'll only have 5 minutes, 5-minute appointments with your teachers. I'd encourage parents and students to come pre-prepared with the questions, okay? Because there's only 5-minute slots. Think about what questions you want to ask your teacher, okay? And try and book with all the subject teachers, even if you don't think you're going to choose the subject, okay? Because you'd be surprised what insights those teachers might be able to provide you. Okay, so like I was saying about the Parents' Evening login, this is exactly what you're going to see. Okay, so when you go into that website, you'll see this title, first name, surname, and that's of the parents, your email address, student's first name, surname, date of birth, login. It'll take you straight into the system, and like I say, you have to book appointments. Okay, again, the details must match what we've got in our system, Bromcom, but if that doesn't match, please contact Mr. Tebbett on that email address, and he will check what we've got on our system, and you just enter that into this system, and we'll change the details we have if we need to at a later date. But the priority is just getting into this system and logging on and booking these appointments. Okay, right, so after Parents' Evening, we are going to email you the options forms. Okay, so just to be clear, options evening today, Parents' Evening next week. Okay, you get to speak to the teachers, and the very next day you are going to be emailed. These are students. Students are going to be emailed the options form, the electronic options form, straight to the student email addresses. So you need access to your email address, students. Okay, Year 9 students. If you do not have access to your school email address, you must figure that out. Okay, you can contact Mr. Cook, our IT technician. The email address is there, but otherwise the login for your email account is exactly the same as your login for the school accounts. Okay, so when you're logging on to do your virtual learning, it's the same login for your email account. So please make sure that you're very clear that the options form is going to be emailed to you, and you are not going to be able to submit your option choices without checking your email, and that you'll receive that straight after the Parents' Evening next week. So once you've spoken to the teachers, once you've spoken to your parents, you're going to need to complete and submit the options form by Friday the 5th of March. So basically 48 hours after the Parents' Evening, you're going to have to submit that form. Only submit it once. Don't change your minds. Don't flip flop. Okay, have the conversation with your parents tonight, over the next week, by Parents' Evening, have the conversation with the teachers, and then make a decision. Okay, again, if you have any problems filling out the form, contact Mr. Tebbett. Okay, I'm obviously palming off a lot of responsibility onto Mrs. Tebbett here, but obviously I am here as well. You've got my email address. It's s.alley@harrisgreenwich.org.uk. So feel free to contact Mr. Tebbett, otherwise me, and we will walk you through this process. Okay. And when I email you on your email account, this is what the email is going to look like. You know, dear Mr. Ali, it could be, I don't know, dear Lottie Millin. I hope you've had a chance to think carefully about your GCSE options. Make sure you've discussed this important decision with your parents and you're happy with your choices. Please click on this link and fill out your selections, and then click submit at the end of the form. Now, what I'm going to do now, let me see if this works. Right, I'm going to try and share my screen so that you can see the form that you'd be expected to fill out. Right, let me try this. It may or may not work. This could go seriously wrong. Let's hope it goes all right. Okay, I've got a bit of a white screen here. Let me just refresh that. Just bear with me, guys. Okay, so hopefully you can see this now. When you click on that link on that email account, you'll see this form, okay? And all you need to do is put the student's first name and last name here. The language that you've studied since year 7, just click one of those. It's either going to be French or Spanish. Select either history or geography. So you need to choose one of those, geography or history. And then for your open bucket, you get to choose a first choice out of the selection here. Art, business studies, computer science, which must be agreed with Ms. Scarwood. So again, through parents' evening, make sure you're clear that computer science is a good option. Drama, DT, food, media, music, PE, GCSE, CTEC. You'll see there that I've put PE, GCSE and PE, CTEC in the same option, and the reason for that is it's going to be the PE teachers and the heads of PE that are going to make a decision around what course is going to be most appropriate for you. We've got RE, sociology, and triple science. Again, only select if agreed with Mr. Jackson, who is the head of science, and you'll get that clarity next week at parents' evening. And then you must choose a second choice. Again, here, do not duplicate your first choice. If you've chosen drama in your first choice, do not choose it again for your second choice. It's not like you're going to get a double drama, even if you love drama or art. Right, I'd love to be doing double art, but unfortunately it's not an option for you. And then here you can see we've put a reserve choice. The reason we've put a reserve choice is there is no absolute guarantee that you're going to get your choice. It's going to be nothing to do with your assessment results. I can assure you of that. It's got nothing to do with whether you're, art aren't going to pluck the best art students for GCSE. It doesn't work like that. It's going to be based on a first come first served basis, and also what the other options are and where they fall out in the block. It's a really complicated process, but you need to select a reserve choice just in case you don't get your first choice or your second choice. Okay, we try and make sure that kids get the choices that they want, but on occasion that can't happen. That's why the reserve choice is really, really important. Sometimes it's down to staffing, capacity, a multitude of reasons, but we'd ask you to trust us through this process. And then towards the end of the form, parents' first name and last name, just to make sure we've got the correct details on our file, parental email address, just to make sure we've got the right email address, and parental contact number, or as a way of us updating our system, because moving forward we're just going to be communicating with you via email and not physical letters. Okay, so let me go back to my form. So the options form, again, familiarise yourself with it. Be sure before you submit it. When I send it to you next week after parents' evening, make sure you familiarise yourself with it and be absolutely sure before you submit it. Don't submit it twice. So I've spoken a lot. There's a lot of information, and like I say, hopefully you'll be able to go and watch it again. What's next? Okay, what do you need to do next? Read through all of the information in the booklet for each subject carefully. Watch the subject videos on the school website, like I explained earlier on, under menu. On parents' evening next week, next Wednesday, ask the teachers any questions that you might have about any of the subjects. And as parents, please discuss choices with your child, but ultimately it's their choice. I'm sure you've got dreams and aspirations for your kids, like mine did. And I have for my children, but ultimately it is their choice. And then students will open their email to find the options form after that, and they must fill it out and submit it by Friday the 5th of March. Okay, no later than that. Okay, and then there are some reminders there: parents' evening, 3rd of February, and the options form, which needs to be submitted by 6 p.m. next Friday, 5 p.m. Okay, and like I say, you will be able to watch a replay of all the information today. I'm going to send out a link, and you can also click on the link that you use to access this. I'll also make sure that there's a PDF available of this PowerPoint and the one Ms. McMillan shared with you a little earlier on. Okay, before I hand over to Mr. Donovan, our Vice Principal, I'm going to leave you with another cheesy little quote from Dr. Seuss. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way. It's exciting times, guys. Really, really excited to have you back. You're a fantastic year group, and we know you're going to have a fantastic 2 years with GCSE, and I'm going to be sad to hand you over to Miss McMillan, but you're going to be in safe hands with Miss McMillan. I'm certain of that. Okay, so I'm going to get out of this now, and I'm going to hand you over to Mr. Donovan. If I can figure out how to stop sharing this, that would be really handy. Mr. Donovan, let me... Miss McMillan, are you able to send over Mr. Donovan? I don't appear to be able to do that.
Yeah, I can have a go. I will send him.
There's my big head now on a full screen.
I can't, sir. Have you said stop sharing?
I have stopped sharing yet.
Yeah, for whatever reason. Hold on. There we go. I can do it now. I did it. It's going. Sir, you're live.
Great. Thank you, guys. Mr. Ali, you kind of ruined your lovely quote there by leaving your head stuck on the screen. So thanks for that. You can go and have a glass of water and lie down, I think. Yeah, you're 9. I'm not going to keep you too long because I know you've been listening to a lot of stuff. I just wanted to say hello. And, you know, I'm really conscious how difficult it's been for you guys. At Christmas time, a few days before Christmas, we closed the door of the school to all of our students. And it's been weeks and weeks and weeks where you've had to sit at home and do lessons in you know, sometimes difficult circumstances, on a laptop, in a bedroom, without your friends around, missing football, missing break times, and missing that social connection that's such a big part of school. And in that time, you know, you've done 200 lessons, you've done 12,000 minutes, you've done 8 assemblies, you've done maths, you've done English, you've done science, you've done geography, you've done your homework, you've done Hegarty, you've done 4,080 tasks on Teams, all in these weeks in January and February. And it's amazing as a school to see every single day at 9 a.m. how many of you are logged on and paying attention and listening. And, you know, a few weeks ago, we opened up the chat function on Teams, and I'll be honest, I was a bit worried what would happen with 150 kids online chatting, but it was great to see so many of you getting involved and using that in a really nice way in lessons. So a big well done to you. As a year group, you've been one of our best year groups at home. You've been really easy, you've been really hard working, you've been very relaxed about the whole thing. And yeah, I'm excited to see you back. March the 8th looks like the week we're going to see you, and we're going to be in touch with the exact date. I was in school today. The daffodils are up. Spring is here. The school is definitely waiting to see you, and we're excited to say hello to you again. And you've then got a term and a half until your summer holidays, and it's going to go like this. It was nice to listen to Miss McMillan talk about year 10 and to talk about, you know, that step for you from going as year 9 students in Key Stage 3, saying goodbye to that, growing up a little bit and beginning your journey into year 10 and year 11, thinking about careers and thinking about next steps and sixth forms for you. So it's really exciting, and we can't wait to see you. And yeah, options wise, I think the choices you make now are really important. They could be the thing that set you on the path for what you do for the next 50 years. And the thing that you choose now might be the thing that you love at GCSE, you love at A level, and perhaps you'll go on to do that at university. So really think wisely about it. Listen to what your teachers have to say to you when you see them next week. Read carefully the stuff that Mr. Ali suggested on the website, so you have a really good idea of what you want to do, and then make the choice. And we look forward to getting stuck in when we see you back. So yeah, thank you. A big thank you to the kids and the families at home for all of the amazing work you've done, keeping them online, and it's not been easy, I'm sure. The Q&A is open, so we are now going to take some questions, so please send them through. Okay, so I see one coming through. Do you ever get a situation where a child does not get their first or second choice? Very rarely. So I think you don't need to worry about that. We've got plenty of spaces with multiple classes of things like art, things like DT, geography, history, etc. There's multiple classes. And if there is a situation where something like that happens, we'll call you directly to talk to you about it. Is there a timeline in response to the government announcement this morning, or are we summer school and mental health welfare options? Yes. So, well, our first timeline obviously is thinking about getting the school open again. So we're working on our testing plans to get year 11 in, year 13 in, year 10 in, year 9 in. And our hope is that we get all students back really within a couple of days of the 8th of March. So we're being really ambitious about that to get you back as soon as we can. And summer school and mental health welfare options, 100%. What we're going to do is offer that out to our staff and to sort of more widely to see what we can find as an offer and to see what we can put on. But I really like the idea of sports. I really like the idea of things like art, as well as some of the catch-up work that can happen. But yes, that timeline will be announced as soon as we've got more information on it. But we're going to run something over the summer for sure. Anything else? How much roughly do you have to pay for the food and nutrition GCSE? Good question. Mr. Ali, you might be better placed to answer that for me. Do you know?
Yeah. So obviously their budgets have been are going to be pretty tight moving forward. There may be a nominal charge, but that will be charged as on a termly rate. In the past, before there was a pause on food tech delivery in the school, we were charging £5 for a term. So like I say, it's pretty nominal. And obviously, if there are any parents that need any assistance with that, we'd always have a conversation with parents, because we want to make sure that, we'd always make sure that money was never an issue in stopping the child choosing what they wanted to do.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Anything else that people are curious about? Yeah, I see a question about science. That's correct. If you choose to do separate science, because it's far more exams, you do 3 GCSEs rather than 2. It takes the space of one of the option blocks. So you could do separate science and music. You could do separate science and computer science, but you would not be able to do the 3 of them. It takes one of the options from you. Exactly. If you pick computer science, we don't have the grades for it. Do we have to pick something else? Yes. So computer science is one of those subjects where we have to look carefully at grades, because it's a highly technical, highly difficult course. But as Mr. Ali said, please speak to your teachers about that, because they'll already have a feel for how you're doing in a subject like computer science. So speak to Ms. Garwood about that one. Plans to vaccinate students and return to school? No, there's no plans to vaccinate students. We don't have the right to vaccinate anyone. That's going to come via the NHS. So we're waiting for the government to announce vaccinations for teachers and for students. I would love to vaccinate everybody as soon as possible, but right now there is no plans to vaccinate students on return to school, but there's certainly plans to test students on return to school. And yeah, just to reiterate about the science, triple science doesn't count. No, excuse me, I've already mixed that up. Trilogy science doesn't count as an option. It's within your core block, but if you do separate sciences, it does.
And Mr. Donovan, just to pick one up, there's been a few questions about the Parents' Evening. The bookings for Parents' Evening will open tomorrow, but the actual Parents' Evening goes live next Wednesday. So you'll have about a week to book for your Parents' Evenings, and then the actual Parents' Evening is next Wednesday, with the options with the options form due to be submitted the Friday after.
Thanks, sir. I see a question about the geography field trip. It depends where we go. So I'm a geography teacher. Last year we went to Stratford to do a human study, and it was free. It was just the cost of a Oyster card trip on the tube. And we've also used places like Epping Forest, where we we just take the price of the coach, so it's low cost. Last year's, for example, was a free trip because it just cost us the travel. Timetables are the same as the beginning of the year, yes. So they're still in year 9. The year 9 timetable still stands, and the school day as it was still stands, so it's the same. So I see a question about COVID tests. The plan is to do 3 tests initially in school, and then the further tests will be done by parents at home as advised by the government. So that's what we're getting ready at the moment, is our initial testing, where children will come for a day in year 9, where they'll come into school, they'll have their lateral flow test, and then they'll be sent home again, and we'll wait for the results to come through. So it's 3 tests planned in school, and then the rest will be done at home. The COVID, what will happen at the COVID testing? I mean, I've been having the test myself each day, and well, not each day, that's a lie. I've been having it twice a week. You queue up in the canteen, and you give your name in, you sit down, you're given a little swab, so the student will take it themselves. They just rub it against the back of their tonsils, and then they put it up one nose for 10 seconds and twirl it round. So it's not pleasant, but it's not too bad. I'm not the bravest, and I'm able to do it. School will be staggered, yes. So we're going to have staggered returns, but we're going to try and get people back ASAP. So the staggered, it won't be hugely staggered. It will be one kind of year group each day coming back in, and the reason we're doing that is to give us time to get everybody in and to get them tested. Everybody will not return at the same day, because we won't be able to test everybody in one day. It's just too many people. So that the plan will be that all students will be back that week. So the week of the 8th of March, everybody will be back. And we hope that year 9s, the plan now looks like year 9s will be back either the Tuesday or the Wednesday of that week. Probably the Wednesday. Tuesday will be a day for the test, and then Wednesday they'll be back. I see a question about dropping a subject. You know, we really don't like to take people out of subjects, but I think if there's a specific issue, please call us, and we can certainly explore that further. It's self-testing for all of the tests. So when the children sit down at school, the first 3 tests, they will self-test but supervised by our nurse and our team. And then the rest of the testing takes place at home, but the first 3 tests take place in school. Another question about how many times a week would they get tested? Well, to give you a timeline, we're going to aim for 3 tests that they will do in school. The first one will be probably on Tuesday, which would be the 9th of March. The next one would be by the end of that week. And then the one after would be at the start of the following week, to give us little breaks in between. Mr. Ali, you might be able to answer about the 2:30 on Fridays and electives.
Yeah, sorry, I was just muted then. With the electives, so the electives will be paused until Easter. Again, just to make sure that we're completely COVID safe and limiting the mixing between year group bubbles. What we expect is the government to essentially tell us that, and we can start easing some of our restrictions on site, at which point we will have electives back on the timetable, but we don't expect that to be until after Easter. So in answer to your question, yes, on Fridays you'll be finishing at 2:30, and I can hear a cheer from the kids in the background. At 2:30 there will be an early dismissal.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, seating plans will stay largely the same. Just as an answer to that question, so the students get home after the test, yes. The students will come in to do their test. They can come in their own clothes, so there's no need to wear the uniform, and they'll have their test and then they'll go home. Mr. Keeley is going to communicate all of the testing arrangements with you on Friday in loads of detail. So he'll send out a letter to families that will go up on the website, and you can read all of the details of that. But the plan for testing is that they come in, they get tested, they go home, and then hopefully they come back the next day to start a full day of school. I see a question about mental health. I think that's really important. I'm glad that you've asked it. So yeah, absolutely. So we have our full staff back. We've got our full pastoral team. We've got our drama therapist. We've got our counsellor. We've got our life coach. We've got all of our various members of SLT and teachers who are really experienced in sort of talking to kids about mental health. And I think getting kids back with each other and in the playground with each other, talking to one another and playing football and enjoying themselves is going to give a massive boost to them, you know, in many ways far more than we can as adults. So I think them being back in the school as one is going to be a big boost, but it's definitely something that we're thinking about, that and it's on our mind. Yes, it's going to be mandatory for students to wear masks as per the government announcement. Now, obviously, there are some students whom are exempt who we will re-communicate with, but yes, mask wearing will be mandatory, as it was before, and students did a great job at wearing it without any fuss. So lunch provision, yeah, good question. We're still sticking with split lunches, which means lunch provision is slightly reduced. That's because the canteen can't serve what they usually serve when there's 3 separate lunches happening. It doesn't give them time to get stuff cleaned up and ready, etc. So as soon as we can go back to a normal lunch, we will. But for the return, it will still be slightly slimmed down. Will children move around the school for each subject? At the moment, the plan is to keep them moving less than usual. So it will be that they stay in their classroom most of the time, but they will move if they need specialist equipment. So if they do DT, they need to go to the DT classroom. If they do PE, they need to go to the PE block. If they do music, they need to go to the music rooms. So they need to move for those subjects because it's not possible to do them in a normal classroom, but otherwise they're going to stay in their classrooms for now. And as soon as we can, we will relax that. But for the moment, we're going to keep it that way. Okay. It's just coming up to 6:30. I think that might be.
Yeah, there's going to be no doubt a large number of questions that we're not going to be able to address in the time that we have left. Like I say, you've got various email addresses. We've got the email addresses of the heads of department in the options booklet. I'd really encourage you to go to the link that I shared with you within my PowerPoint. Tomorrow, I'll share with you the link of the booklet again and this presentation so that you can contact the people that you need to contact if you've got any other questions. Yeah, that wraps up our evening, Mr. Donovan.
Yeah, great, sir. Thank you, and thanks to Mr. McMillan. And kids, we cannot wait to see you and get those uniforms ready, get those ties on, get those shirts out, and get ready for some fun times. We look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Stay safe and stay online. And thank you for joining us. It's been fun. Thank you, sir.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. See you soon.